Now, it's an undeniable fact that social media has become an almost inextricable part of our daily lives, and it's partly because it really does act as a source of getting updates about the news, about events, and what your family and friends are up to. Now, this has placed so much importance on how we announce big milestones to our community, which could have an impact on how and why we approach these steps in real life. So today we're asking, are your relationship milestones all for social media? This morning we're joined by relationship expert and TEDx speaker Paula Quincy to help us discuss this hot topic. And of course, we'd love to hear all of your comments as well. So head on over to our Facebook page, Expresso Morning Show SABC3, and drop a comment on the post. And we would love to hear from you. Paula, thank you very much for being here and helping us talk about this very important thing, because it really is.
It really is. I mean, nowadays, just go onto any social media platform and you see lots of posts around relationships, milestones, big events, and sometimes even just the small little things like what you had for breakfast this morning.
Very true.
But how can it affect couples and how they respond to each other? Expectation versus reality, what we see on social media versus what is really happening in the relationship.
Definitely, and there's a lot of research that's been done on this, and the stats are skewing more towards the negative impact that it can have on our relationships. There is a lot of expectation that, you know, we have to live the perfect life, perfect wife, perfect hubby, picture, you know, romantic relationship, that it is not real, you know, and I'm hearing a lot more people referring to Facebook as Fakebook because of the expectation that everything is perfect, when reality is it's not like that, it can't be.
Yeah. How would you say this kind of changes essentially, or has changed essentially from what we used to do back in the day? I mean, there were photo albums. You would write maybe a letter to a pen pal across the ocean or maybe somewhere in the country, and that was your way of connecting. But now, with the advent of social media and things being so readily available and so publicly available, how has that essentially changed human connection?
So that's where the pros come in terms of social media does help us keep in touch, particularly with family and or long-distance relationships.
Yeah.
And you go into your Facebook feed page every day and you will have a memory from Facebook in terms of, here's a memory from your feed 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So Facebook actually reminds us of those things. And that's a great way to look back on fun memories and events and times in your life. But nowadays, it's, I think, the intention and the agenda behind, why are you posting on Facebook? Are you doing this because you want everybody else to see it? You know, for example, we were talking earlier about a gender reveal events. Nowadays, you have to get it picture perfect, ready for as that champagne bottle or that champagne cork goes off. You know, is this around that you're doing it for social media and to get the validation externally versus internally and between the two of you when it comes to your relationship?
Do you then feel like people's putting a lot of pressure on the relationship to be social media, like Instagrammable, Facebookable, whatever it is? Do you think there's more pressure on relationships in this day and age?
Definitely so, because, you know, we live our lives through what other people are posting, and this is where the negatives start coming in, because we can start comparing ourselves in our own relationships to what we're seeing on social media, and that can put pressure on our relationship to be the perfect couple, because look what that couple's doing, or everybody around me is getting married or engaged or having babies, why aren't we doing that too? So we start comparing ourselves in our relationships to others when we're all walking a different path and a different journey, and it's about our relationship and what's important and special to us. And the more we keep posting on social media, it's almost the less privacy and the less specialness and sacredness we have about our relationships.
Why do you think that is, Paula? Why have we resorted to this, and this has become kind of like almost the cornerstone, I think, of a lot of relationships? Why is that so? Yeah,
so again, looking for that external validation, the likes, the shares, the comments, and it's around, there are those times when you want to validate your partner externally when they've done something wonderful and amazing and special for you. But there are those other moments when we kind of air our dirty laundry on social media. Something will be said or done, or we'll tag up our partner in a picture or a post, knowing full well that potentially behind that there's a double innuendo about something that's happened between us, but we're putting it out there to kind of get a reaction from our partner, and that can have a negative impact. And that whole world of instant gratification. I want something and I want it now.
Wow. Very great insights there from you, Paula. Thank you very much for that. And so that's the big question of your day. Are your relationships milestones all for social media? We'd love to hear your questions and your comments for our relationship expert, Paula Quincy. So head on over to our Facebook page, drop a comment on the post, and we would love to engage with you.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
It's Monday, so we're talking all things relationships, and today relationship expert Paula Quincy is in the hot seat to help us discuss the impact of posting relationships updates on social media as a couple. Now, we'd love to hear your questions and comments, so head on over to our Facebook page, drop a comment on this post, and we would love to engage with you. We already have so many social media comments that came through.
Yeah.
What are some people saying?
So, Paula, Natasha here says, well, honestly, relationships that are all on social media and make out to be goals, in quotes, are putting so much pressure on the reality of being in a relationship. The social media platform gives you only the beauty of a relationship, where in reality, you have to go through difficult times. Even if you have been together for 20 years, I believe it took blood, sweat and tears to form a bond with another person. I will never idolize other people's relationships because to us, it looks like a dream. But for that woman or man, it may be hell. It is great to share your memories with other people, but the best moments are shared between two people if no one actually knows. What a comment. What would you have to say about that comment?
I think definitely, you know, some of the statistics from a divorce perspective that's coming out of late is that social media is one of the reasons cited for the relationship breaking down, because a lot of attention and focus is going away from the relationship and the couple and towards social media. It's almost like the third person in a relationship these days. And we are starting to lose those social skills around having real connection, particularly from a relationship point of view.
Sure.
You know, being able to spend real quality time. How many times do you go out to a restaurant and you see couples sitting at a dinner table, but one or both are on their phones?
Well, yeah, that's true.
You know, or even families sitting around the dinner table together. So I think it's important about, you know, remembering that every relationship is different, and it's what is important to you and valuable to you, and not what you need validation or potentially are seeking validation for externally. That's where you would then need to look at self in terms of, how do I feel about myself and my own self-esteem and self-worth and self-value and self-confidence, and how do we feel about each other and in our relationship as well?
Yeah. A question that I have before we go to the next one, just to kind of latch on to what you're saying there, the notion that couples that post frequently about each other in reality are actually unhappy in the relationship, and that the direct opposite, that those that don't post regularly about each other are actually the ones that are happiest in real life. Is there any truth to that at all?
So this is where the research kind of is 50-50 on this. For those that don't post about their partners, the sort of theory behind it is that they're not feeling that fulfilled, either ashamed or embarrassed, or that things are not going well in their relationship, so they'd rather not post about it. On the other hand, there's almost the overcompensation, that if I keep posting about my partner, my relationship, I keep putting it out there, that we have this fantastic, wonderful relationship that looks so happy all the time. But we know that that's not true from a real life perspective, because life is up and down, and our relationships are up and down. You're never ever going to be 100% happy all the time. It's impossible. You know, there are going to be those moments where you're going to have what I call speed bumps, where you're going to bump heads with each other and not agree on everything 100% and have arguments. But it's how do you work through those arguments in a healthy way? So deal with conflict healthily in your relationship. Take your time to get to know the person really well on a deeper level, not just a superficial level. A lot of the times, particularly in the early stages of a relationship, if you look at what happens from a chemical perspective in our bodies, the serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin and adrenaline, that in love feeling is unsustainable, because as we move through the different cycle when it comes to the relationship cycle, you know, in the beginning stages, we're on our best behavior. We're trying to impress. We're trying to get this person to fall in love with us and be with us and like us and accept us. And once we start getting to that stage where we are more comfortable with each other, we start letting our guard down. In other words, we stop being on our best behavior all the time. And we can then tend to be a little bit sloppier, a little bit this, a little bit that, because we now, our true self starts coming out. So the first 3 months is still very early from a relationship point of view to know whether I really love this person, whether I really want a future with this person. So take your time to really get to know that person on a very deeper level before, you know, you put it out there as Facebook official.
Can you then say social media is helping couples feel more connected to one another and maybe taking that extra step in making it official?
I think it certainly can help in terms of, you know, I think we were talking about it earlier, that when I put it out there, I'm showing the world and everyone else that this is my person, this is the one that I'm with, this is the person that I've chosen. And that's great and that's wonderful. But again, what is the intention or the agenda behind why you keep posting about your relationship all the time? When those special moments can also be shared between the two of you and it's really deep and meaningful just for you and your partner.
Should that then be a conversation between you and your partner and be like, this is why we're posting, let's have an open Instagram or a closed Instagram? What would be the steps for that?
Definitely have a conversation around that, because you may have a partner that is social media shy, that doesn't want everything posted on social media all the time about your relationship. So I think definitely have that discussion around what are the boundaries of our relationship and how do we protect our relationship and keep our relationship safe for us and from the rest of the world, so to speak. This is where transparency and honesty comes in. You know, for example, simple things like passwords. Do we share our passwords to our accounts, our social media accounts? What is considered as good behavior, you know, in terms of am I DMing or texting or chatting with someone behind the scenes? Am I looking up what my exes and my pasts are doing? You know, so what are those boundaries for you and your relationship? Because we all have a past, let's be honest. But this is you and your relationship, and how do you create that strong emotional foundation for the two of you going forward?
Wow, great insights there from Paula Quincy, and of course addressing our question of the day, whether your relationship's milestones are all for social media. And we'd love to hear all of your comments for our relationship experts. So get onto our Facebook page, Expresso Morning Show SABC3. Drop a comment and we'll be back again continuing this discussion. Yeah, Monday morning relationship talk time with Paula Quincy. And hey, some people seek their hashtag Monday motivation for relationships from social media. And that's what we're talking about, whether your big milestones in terms of your relationships are all for social media. Do you like sharing them? If so, why? How do you go about putting them on Instagram with a nice filter, on Facebook telling the story? And why is it that we actually turn to do something like this? Paula Quincy's been here addressing this topic with us, and she's been giving us some great insights as we quickly take a look and reflect on some of your comments that we found on our Facebook page, Expresso Morning Show SABC3. Kanyisa says, no, I'm kind of scared by relationships. I remember getting attacked by my girlfriend's real boyfriend, so now I keep it on the DL. Wow. Okay, so that...
Wow.
What?
That's a wow.
That's a wow, because what does he mean by real boyfriend?
I'm assuming
Was he the side hustle?
I'm assuming... A side hustle, yes.
Hello.
Side bae, meeting the real bae, because it was now on social media. Another one says, there's no positive outcome for this. And I'm assuming they're talking about when you're posting on social media. No positive outcome for this. People end up losing their partners to their social media friends. Wow, that's quite something.
And that is something I have heard of before in some couples and relationships, is where, you know, your friend starts chatting to your significant other via Messenger on some platforms. And again, this comes back to obviously relationship boundaries and deal breakers. And then if that does happen, how do you handle that situation? Do you tell your partner about it? Because that could have repercussions in terms of the friendship.
Yes,
depending on whether it is a long-standing friendship or whether it is just a Facebook or a social media acquaintance, so to speak.
Yeah, and a couple of other comments, sorry. Anel here saying, no, social media makes relationships difficult. Msingo says, yep, nowadays we post anything on social media. Chad saying, no, I like to keep my relationship as private as possible. Kamala saying, awesome team. Well, thank you very much for that. Wesley saying, no, I can do without social media. Do you feel like these days people are veering more towards the side of anti-social media mixing with my relationship, whereas before it was all about that?
Yeah.
And now people are starting to realize the dangers in having more of these open conversations before they take that step to make it Facebook or Instagram or Twitter official.
Yeah, I'm definitely hearing more and more people closing down their social media pages or platforms because of what they term as the intrusion into their life, and then this whole peer pressure expectation around the life I should be living versus the life that I want to live or I choose to live for myself. You know, and social media does get a bad rap and in terms of being negative, but it does have some positives, particularly if you've got family that are far away, and it's a way of them keeping in touch with what's going on in your world. Or if you're in a long distance relationship, keeping in touch and keeping the communication and the connection going and sharing your world with each other from a long distance perspective and a snapshot into what's going on in your life, because you can't do it like a everyday normal couple does.
Yeah.
Now, what is some of the healthiest ways to be aware of the impact social media has on these relationships?
I think first of all, you know, if you're starting to feel that you can't put social media down, particularly when you are spending time with your partner, or you constantly have to check social media, how many likes, how many shares, how many comments have you got, those are probably some of the red flags to look out for. If you feel that your partner is spending more time on social media than they are with you, or they're not really connecting with you, those are also some red flags to look out for. And then how do you have conversations around that to set those parameters for you and your relationship and your partner?
Yeah. You know, while reflecting on how social media can be absolutely good, and we're focusing on intimate romantic relationships versus the extended family and so on, why is it so important that we need to be careful of the perceptions that we are creating on social media about our relationships? Is that even something to be concerned about?
Definitely. You know, particularly in the world of mental health and well-being, there can be that negative impact on us that can lead to anxiety and depression in terms of I'm not fitting in, I'm not at the level that my peers are at, my life doesn't look anything like those, I'm feeling left behind, or that you know, I haven't achieved as much as the people around me are doing and achieving based on what I'm seeing posted on social media. So it can have a definite negative impact on self-worth, self-esteem, self-value, which can also impact your relationship, particularly if one of you in the relationship is constantly comparing and measuring and benchmarking your relationship to what the rest of the world has out there.
Sure. Go ahead, please.
So, final words for you. Do you feel like in this day and age, is social media pro or con, in your words?
I believe that it is, it does have its good and it can be used positively. I think it's between you and your partner to discuss what those parameters look like and what healthy social media usage looks like for you and your relationship. Understanding where and what is important to you from a privacy perspective, from a confidential perspective, and what are some of the milestones that you would love to share with the rest of the world, being obviously your friends, your family that are particularly all over in different corners of the world.
Yeah. Paula, always wonderful to have you here and to be able to glean from your knowledge and experience. And we hope that you've enjoyed it as well and you found it enlightening, and understand that much of how we express or don't express about our relationships on social media can say a great deal about the status of them. But just be sure that you and your partner understand how you use this powerful tool, and it can, of course, end up being a meaningful way to interact with each other at the end of the day.